and welcome to Creating a Color, sharing the creative endeavors of people of color. I'm your host, Kaybe, and today I'm joined with Liz Chun, a staff writer who previously worked on Spirit Writing Free, Fu Panda, Paws of Destiny, and TrollsTopia. How are you today, Liz?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me, KB.
Thank you so much for being here. So, what is a staff writer?
That's a good question. I feel like I learned a lot about writing and my job on the job, so I'm always a little nervous to answer anything technical because I might be wrong, but I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure as a staff writer that a staff writer is a writer who is staffed on a show like full time. So I think that's it, opposed to kind of like a freelance writer. So a staff writer like day to day will be working consistently and going like to meetings with the other writers. You'll participate in a writer's room and like there will be like summits, story breaks, punch ups, just like all the general writery meetings, and you're kind of working on the show on an ongoing basis with other staff writers and the story editors of the show, and maybe like the EP if they're a writer too will also be like on that team. And then a freelance writer, in contrast to that, would be someone who is probably like given like a script to write on a show. So it's more like they might be in the story break for that episode, or they might be in a summit early on if it's going to be a show that mainly has freelance writers or like no staff writers at all and is purely freelance, but then they won't be on full time. So instead of participating like in meetings week to week or something, it'll kind of be like they're assigned a script, they take it, and then they'll turn in that script for like the deadlines and stuff.
Thank you. I didn't even know there was a difference between staff and freelance writers.
I've never worked in live action, but I've heard that like the writer's room structures in live action and animation can be different. And I think there are more tiers in live action. So I think in animation, in the rooms I've been in, there's only really been staff writers, story editors, and then maybe like the showrunner or EP, if they're a writer, they'll also be in the room. But I've heard in live action, like they do have more tiers. And I think in live action, staff writer is like the entry level writer position in a writer's room. But because I've never been in a live action room, I don't really know what the extra tiers are, but I think they exist.
I don't know anything about it, so I believe you.
Yes. Also, there is a script coordinator in an animation writer's room who will be also helping out. I feel like I didn't mention them, but they're also really amazing and really important to the room. So that's
Okay.
good stuff. Yeah.
I know we've previously, last season, we had a script coordinator on the show, Kyle White. We could also go more into depth about the writer's room a little bit later, but it's just kind of interesting hearing the script coordinator's role. Do you have any experience as a script coordinator?
I do. I've been a script coordinator on two different shows. So TrollsTopia, like you mentioned, and then on an unannounced Netflix project, I was the script coordinator until I got staffed on to my first staff writing job, which I just wrapped up actually. But speaking of Kyle, he's also a staff writer now. So that is definitely, yes, I know. And he's really awesome, really amazing. So if anyone is listening to this and hasn't listened to his episode of your podcast, I'm sure they should 9,000% go back and do that, because I bet he has some very coherent and solid advice. But it's nice because I think both of us are a great illustration of like that, like script coordinating, because it can be a really tough job, but like it can lead you to where you want to go if you want to be a writer, and it is definitely a valuable position to have, and it's so important to have a great script coordinator. So to all the script coordinators out there, like, you got this.
How did you get started in animation?
Well, I actually went to college for animation, so I attended the Rhode Island School of Design, and then at the end of my sophomore year, I got an internship at Nickelodeon, and that was kind of my first taste of the industry, because at RISD, it's not so much like industry focused, it's kind of like whatever you're interested in pursuing. So a lot of my friends ended up becoming more like boutique animators at like New York advertising agencies, or like independent animators who do like music videos on the side or something. Like it's like more of a general program that different people take in different ways. I was interested in the industry, so when I got that internship at Nickelodeon, it kind of showed me like the different roles and the different pipelines that exist in animation. And then in my senior year, I got an internship at Frederator as I was ending university. And they were really nice and great too. And as I was ending there, they gave me the opportunity to work for them. But they knew I wanted to be more like in the animation industry. And I was in their New York office at the time. And they were like, we also have an LA office. Would you be interested in working there? Because we know you're interested in the industry and most of it's out here in LA and beautiful sunny SoCal. So I took them up on that offer. I was an office manager there for a little less than a year, and then through a connection I had made at Nickelodeon, I interviewed for a PA position at DreamWorks. And so I started off as a production assistant there, and it was a really great experience.
Wow. That's a journey. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I came here from the East Coast and I don't miss the winter that much, except for maybe like the first week where the snow is like nice and powdery, but then it gets kind of hard.
Oh.
So,
Just because your cat is making a lot of noise, why don't you introduce him real quick for everyone listening?
oh yes, that is my cat Leon. I actually can get up and release him. He woke up from his nap and he really wants to go outside. So I feel like if I open the door, he'll quiet down. So I can do that. But that's my precious baby boy Leon.
Okay.
He's a very beautiful boy. He's the most handsome, perfect boy in the universe. So, just a heads up.
Okay. Thank you. It's really nice that you had a connection in Nickelodeon that helped you get your PA job at DreamWorks, so you could just really get a huge kick into your animation industry career.
Yeah, it was really good. I feel like connections and like not in the way that it's like, my schmoozy connection here. I know the second son of some person. I think just like forming good bonds with the people that you meet or that you work with and like just being a good kind person in life, not with any like duplicative motives or anything, but I think I want to work with people who are nice. So I try really hard to be nice when I work with people. And I think that's important is just to treat other people well and with respect. And like, I think that is honestly one of the most valuable things you can do when you work if you want to get where you want to be or like even just make friends and stuff. It's good stuff. Just be a decent human being. I feel like the news makes it seem like it's so difficult for some people, but it's really not that difficult to be good to other people.
It's good advice, honestly. Did you always know you wanted to get into animation, or did you have interest in any other industries?
Well, I've always been really into like cartoons and video games and like graphic novels or manga and anime. So I'm a big weeb. So growing up, my parents are kind of always more like, oh, don't you want to be a doctor or like a lawyer, engineer or something like that? So I went to like a science and technology magnet high school. And my mom was a software engineer back then. So at that point, I was kind of like, maybe I'll become an engineer because I'm at this high school where a lot of people become engineers. But I didn't actually really click with a lot of the stuff I did at that school. It was like super competitive. And I'm also not, I like doing my best and trying my best in like my own space. But like, I'm not a hyper competitive person. So I kind of floundered around a little. I still like did well in school, but I was kind of like, what do I want to do with my life? I have no idea. And I feel like I am not formulating anything concrete. Though my interest in like engineering, I was like, if I did engineer, I'd want to work in video games. And that kind of like led me to be like, well, I want to work in something that's related to something that I'm passionate about and that I really, really love. And, for like university and stuff, my mom was like, if you could do extracurriculars, what would you be interested in? And then that kind of led me down a track of like, man, if I could do anything, I think I'd want to do art and animation. Because I would like doodle a lot back then, like bad anime drawings, and like I was like, oh heck yeah, Prince of Tennis, it's so cool. So I was
heard
like,
that one in a while.
I know, right? Like Inuyasha, Prince of Tennis. I loved like cartoons too, so like Hey Arnold, but like Final Fantasy, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna draw dudes with like 5,000 zippers. And so I told my parents, I was like, oh, I think I'm actually interested in going to art school and pursuing animation. And I have no idea specifically what I would do in regards with that, but I want to do it. I just don't know how it works. Luckily, like, I think I'd always been the more rebellious child in my family, and I think my mom saw me kind of be so, like, aimless in high school, so she was actually really receptive to that. Like, I think a lot of parents are always like, or a lot of people are always like, how did your parents react? Because definitely when I was younger, they were really strict, and they were like, where are your A's? And I was like, oh, they're behind the B's somewhere. I don't know. They were definitely a lot stricter, but, I think they wanted what was best for me and stuff. And I think they could tell this was something I really, really wanted to do. So my mom was like super supportive off the bat. And my dad, I think, was more hesitant, but like in a way where he didn't want to say he was hesitant or he didn't really like. So instead, like, because he used to drive me to my school every morning because it was like further away because it was a magnet school. And like every morning for like a while, he was like, "Oh yeah, like art school, huh?" He's like, you sure that's what you want to do, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he would be like, "Okay, great." And then the next morning, he'd be like, "Yeah, so art school, that's what you want to do, huh?" And I was like, "Yep." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, okay." So I could tell he was like a little bit less on board, but he never like openly said it. But, they're all proud and happy with me in general and stuff, not tied to career, but I think, I'm a good cat mom and stuff, so
Yeah.
they have stuff to brag about,
Yeah. For sure.
Leon's vet told me that he was 2 pounds overweight, and now, over the course of COVID, he's only 1 pound overweight, and that's very on track,
There
His
you
vet
go.
would be very proud of me, too, so.
Yes, exactly.
I'm making things happen, Kaybe. I'm making things happen.
Well, I'm very happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're making it happen. What does it mean to be a writer?
Oh, oh man, like I feel like this could go like really existential as a question, but I'm gonna like try to avoid that because I'll like spiral into something weird, I bet, if I like go that route. But and this is being recorded, so but I think in like a literal sense, being a writer, means that you write regurgitating advice that was given to me by people who are way more like accomplished and talented and that I view as like role models and stuff. But I think especially too when I was getting started and stuff, I would be like, oh, I'm like interested in being a writer, or I want to try to be a writer. But I think being a writer, it really just means that you write. So, they'd always be like, no, you're already a writer. Liz, you're a writer because you've written stuff, haven't you? And so they were like, you need to say that confidently and you need to be able to tell people that. And I think that's something that I kind of consistently struggle with in my career stuff is like feedback I get sometimes is like, be more confident because I think, especially when you're like early on in a career, it's easy to have a lot of self-doubt and like imposter syndrome. But I did hit a point where like listening to the advice of those people, if I was introducing myself to people, I'd be like, I'm a writer. And really like the job title is something different than actually being a writer. So like I am a staff writer now, so my job title reflects that I'm a writer, but that is separate from like me just being a writer. And I think, someone's writing a book at home, they're a writer. A script coordinator who has like any samples written, they're a writer. I think as long as you're writing things, you're a writer. And if you want to be a writer and you're just sitting on writing something, just write it because then you'll be a writer. Like, because I think that's sometimes the hardest thing is to get that first step started of like, I'm going to commit to the idea that I want to be this thing. I'm going to commit to taking that first step and being that thing by doing the thing that the person does. So like someone who wants to be a designer, well, it's like once you start designing stuff, you're a designer. And maybe your job title doesn't reflect that yet, but if you keep working at it, it can eventually, and like you are already that thing. So like you can't be hired as a designer unless you're a designer. You can't be hired as a writer unless you're a writer. It's not like they're gonna hire me to be a writer if I've never written anything.
Right.
So, it's like, I think too, what's kind of important to being a writer, and I think a lot of people, when I am like in interviews or when I'm talking to people, it's kind of like people will ask me what I feel like my unique voice is, or like what my voice is. And I think for all creative roles, like that's a big thing. It's like everybody has a unique voice and kind of being able to like solidify what that is. And I think that comes through doing whatever craft it is that you really, really like. And I think everybody has a unique voice, but I think people express that in different ways. And I think for a writer, that way is like through words and like writing. And I think for like a board artist or something, that is through how they board. So yeah, I feel like being a writer, just to be repetitive one more time, it just means you write things.
Okay. Yeah, that's not something that you hear very often because a lot of times I could speak for myself personally because like I kind of feel like you're talking about me at the same time of being like, if you're already doing this thing, then you're already it. It's just like your job title might not reflect it, but at the end of the day, you're still that skill. You're still that role. I think it's easy to like slip and forget about that and be like, I'm not an artist yet because no one has seen me as an artist. I'm not making any money as an artist. But if you're creating art, then you're an artist.
Yeah. I learned that through a lot of people who are just really amazing and like great mentors. And I always fall into the self-deprecating loophole of like, well, I'm just trying to do this thing. And like I'm almost afraid to commit to like saying out loud that like I do this thing or I want to do this thing. But like back when I was a script coordinator, back when I was trying to get my first script coordinating gig, a lot of writers, they told me, no, you are a writer and just tell people you're a writer and be confident in that. And I think, you know, a lot of people will say stuff like, who's gonna believe in you more than like yourself is like, I think in order to really succeed at things that you're doing, you have to believe in yourself to agree. So it's like if someone comes to you and they're like, well, I want to try to maybe be a writer and I think I can maybe do it, but I don't know if like, I'm not gonna look at them and be like, oh, they are a writer and they know what they're doing. It's like how you present yourself. And that is something that I, again, really struggle with, but I think it's just something good to keep in mind and that I try to struggle with less every day. I still wrestle with it a lot, but I think a little less than when I first started. And I was like, you know, super roundaboutly, well, I want to be a script coordinator because I think maybe that I want to maybe try doing the thing that is the writing with the words, but also if I don't, it's okay. Life is okay, you know. But I think it's okay to commit to things that you want and to say that you are a thing that you are.
What does your daily routine look like?
I think my daily routine when staffed was kind of to know what meetings I had that day and to be prepared for those meetings and like generally ready to go. So like if I have a punch up that day, then so like a punch up is like when you have a draft of a script and it doesn't have to be your own script. It's like any script from anyone in the room. And then everyone in the room will kind of go through and pick out places where they feel like, oh, this could be funnier if we do this joke instead. Or, oh, this moment might be plussed if we like tweak this line, or like, oh, what if we add this quick like action here or something like that. It's basically everyone going around and trying to punch the script up. So if we have a punch up that day, like then I will have the script ready and notated with like, well, when we get to this line, this is what I'm going to say, like this is what I'm going to suggest, and just by different ideas. And alternatively, like if I'm writing on a certain day, or sometimes I'll have to do both in a day, but you know, if I have a deadline coming up or something, then I'll be kind of sitting at my desk a lot and kind of like my face will be kind of like, and then like I'll just be staring at the screen and like typing and backspacing and like typing a lot and trying to churn out either that like premise or that outline or that script draft. And it's interesting because I feel like when I was in production, I didn't super know what the writers were doing because they usually are in their own room. And then sometimes like they'll like be working from home on script drafts and stuff. And I think so much of writing, for me at least, is like, I feel like sometimes if someone just watched me on a video feed, it would look like I am not writing in my day. But like there's so much thinking that's happening. Like I feel like I'll start writing a script and I'll hit this point and I'll be like, haha, I definitely should put a joke here. And then I'm like, boa joke. And then I'll like sit there for an hour and be like, this joke. And I'll be like, wow, that's trash. And then I'll throw it away. And then like I'll keep writing the rest of the script, but then later I'll go take a shower or something to try to like get away from my desk for a little. But then in the shower, I'm thinking and I'm like, the joke. What's the joke? So I'm like shampooing my hair and thinking about that joke. So I think that's like a lot of the day of a writer is just like constantly thinking about scripts. And like even for punch ups, it's sometimes I'll be punching up a script and I'll be like, oh, I think like I want to pitch something here that would like change the rhythm up, but like I like think that and then I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I'll just kind of like move on, but like it's still eating away at me in the back of my head. Maybe my day just looks like me being eaten away by a lot of thoughts while also typing a lot. But yeah, I think also writers' meetings are really fun and exciting. I mentioned the writers' room, but like you're kind of in a room together, you're pitching ideas a lot. It's a lot of, again, the sage advice of other writers. It's a lot of yes anding. So like it's fun because you get to build off of one another's ideas. I think sometimes people can have the misconception of like, oh, like if I become a writer, I get to go write on my own and do this thing. I think being a staff writer is a super collaborative process. It's definitely like a team activity. And I like that because I'm kind of an extrovert, and especially during COVID, I don't get to talk to people. So I feel like I was really thirsty for conversation. So I sometimes feel bad for the other writers in the room because I feel like I'd be like, hello, talk to me. No, I'm just kidding. No, we all got along great. It was great. But just joking around. But yeah, it's a lot of alone time sometimes, and then a lot of like collaboration other times. It's this and that. But yeah, mainly just so much thinking. So much thinking.
Do you have any tips for someone to get started with making it a little easier to like get your thoughts in order?
So it's kind of nice being a staff writer because normally you'll break a story in advance of you having to write an outline or something like that. So when you do go off to script, you'll usually have like all the points of the story. So actually, in a lot of the rooms I've been in, the Save the Cat book has been referenced, and it kind of lays out a story structure. So, like, there's different beats to kind of hit. And, like, I think that kind of mimics, like, the heroic cycle, which, like, one room I was in, they preferred, like, the story circle, which, like, if you Google these things, it kind of comes up, but it's, like, you know, like, starting the journey, and then, like, eventually you'll hit, like, the darkest night of the soul, and like there's certain beats, so like you'll break all of those beats before you go out and like write, or like the three-act structure. So in that way it's like nice and organized. I think it's fleshing that out sometimes that can be a little bit more difficult if you're trying to figure something out. But I think the more you hear other people's solutions, like when you read other people in your room scripts, or even just like when you guys are discussing or breaking story, or like, you know, it's nice because if you do hit a really big road bump and you're a staff writer, you can just reach out and be like, hey guys, like I need a gag for this section and nothing's clicking. Like, what do you guys think, or what do you have? And then people will like email suggestions. There was one room I was in, the TrollsTopia room, where they would do that, like, and email one another a lot. For me, I kind of will like notate out like stuff that I feel like needs to be plussed, or like that is missing in like a script. My friends and I talk about vomit drafts a lot, where it's like you kind of just vomit out a draft. So like it can be bad, or it can have beats that you're like, this is a terrible sub-in for what will actually eventually hopefully be there. But I think it's easy when you get, like, at least for me, it's easy when I get everything out, at least like in one phase, then I can go back and like adjust what I want to be fixed and stuff. So sometimes that helps, is just having that framework set. I've heard, you know, that structure is always really important, which is, I think, where stuff like Save the Cat comes in and stuff is to know, like, how to build that structure. But the best way to probably get better at all this stuff is just to keep writing, keep getting feedback from other people. And then I think over time you start to build up that sense of, like, rhythm, or that sense of, like, what does this scene need? Or, like, I think my thing is, like, I will sometimes, like, write too much or like include like things like trimming, I think is my thing that I am like really learning a lot through like the room and stuff is and that's super helpful. But it is just a lot of writing. I think it's hard to say because so many writers have different methodologies and ways of organizing or like different ways that they'll get their scripts done and stuff. So I think whatever ends up working best for a person, and I think the best way to figure that out is by writing a lot and just trying out different ways. I think there's no right way in creative work and stuff to do things. It's whatever is right for you.
Lovely. Thank you. What are some specific roadblocks you try to watch out for?
Um, Man, there's a line producer that I worked with named Mercedes Salazar, and I think when I first got into writing, she gave me the advice of like, don't ever let fear stop you from doing things. And I think that has been super, super helpful. I think pursuing a career path where a lot of things are subjective can be difficult because it's not like math where it's like, oh, there's one way to do it, and once I learn how to solve this kind of formula, like I can make it work. Like it is very like, well, who's reading this and or who's like looking over my art or something. It's like person A could love it and person B could not like it, and it's like all very subjective, which for me is a little anxiety inducing sometimes because it's like sometimes someone will tell me like this is great and then someone else will tell me like this is not great, and anxiety sometimes has, at least like earlier on, would make me really nervous about like showing people things or, you know, like even like feeling like I have something that's worth putting out there or that's like ready to turn in or something like that. And I think her advice of just not letting fear stop me from doing stuff is so viable because I think that that anxiety is really turning to fear, and if I don't submit something because I'm afraid, or if I am worried about like, oh, it's like not ready yet, and like what could happen if it's not ready yet and I submit it. But I think then you overlook like what opportunities you are missing and things. So it's like I like wrote my first ever sample and I didn't have a ton of confidence in it. It was my first script. I had gotten feedback for it and I had revised it accordingly, but you know, I think it's still kind of a scary thing for your like first ever whatever to ever put it out there and to show it to people. But an opportunity came up at DreamWorks on TrollsTopia, and you know, recruiting reached out, Joyce Dabney, and she was like, do you want me to put you forward for this potential position? And in my head, I was like, well, I don't know. Am I ready? Like, should I just say no for now until I have more samples? Or like, what if this particular one is bad and this person looks at it and is like, this person should never write again? But if I don't put it forward, then I will never be considered for that position. And if I put it forward, at least I have some chance, no matter how minimal it is. Like, at least you have some chance of getting something right. I like am sometimes working on samples and I feel like it's so hard as an artist to ever feel like you did something perfectly or that you did something right or that there isn't room for improvement. And so like all the samples I have right now and stuff too, I'm like, oh, like I'm sure I could improve them. I will never commit to the idea that like this is perfect the way it is, but if I like let that hold me back from submitting to jobs and stuff, people won't even know I want that job. Like no one will even know that I am like interested or like I literally have zero chance of getting something that I'm not gonna submit for. But at least if I submit something, like that goes up. And as you improve, you can always like update people or send new things and stuff. But like it's not like once I send something, it's like set in stone. And I think, at least for me, that was like kind of a terrifying and daunting thing that really like I would block myself kind of as I was getting started. So yeah, just like don't be afraid and don't be afraid that people won't be open to like seeing you grow too. Just because you do something now doesn't mean that you can't change or update or grow or like show them that you've improved later. Like if anything, that's also really impressive is to be able to show that you like learn and grow. I feel like that's such a great thing for artists to do. I feel like if we hit a point where we're not trying to learn and grow, like that's pretty bad and like stagnating. So, you know.
Yeah. That's very good advice. Again, I feel like you're talking at me. Because I know I've been in some situations where I am trying to pursue a more creative career. And I remember my very first pass at this career, as vague as I am right now as I speak about myself. I was actually discouraged from continuing forward with it from a college professor. And
What?
yeah, it was a great environment. Um,
That's messed up.
yeah, now they're asking me for money, and I'm like, y'all funny. But
Don't pay them.
I won't. Don't worry. They got enough money from me. Um, but it wasn't until I spoke with like a colleague who I also consider a friend and a mentor, who actually walked me through the process and actually helped me break down all the steps and what this job is and what needs to be done to improve. I actually feel like there's improvement, and now I have like a support system who want to see me grow and want to see me improve and really want me to see me succeed. And that's huge. So it's also not only don't get in your own way, don't let people get in your head to fuel getting in your way.
Oh heck yeah, that's super true. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's. I feel like now you're talking at me because I feel like no, but I think too, like people in animation are generally so nice, that like if you get over any kind of fear you have and you open yourself up to talking to different people, like yeah, you're not gonna click with everyone, but you're gonna find the right people and you're gonna find the good people, and the right and good people are the ones who are gonna see potential, and who want to foster growth in like young people and who want to support them in their career paths. And like I think everyone has the potential to do what they want to do. It's just will the opportunities and the mentors and stuff and those kinds of things line up. And I think, it's not gonna work out for everyone because that's just how life is. But like I think the more you open yourself up to like those opportunities and like people is like the more doors you're opening that you can like get closer and closer. And yeah. Ugh, so wise, Kate.
No, no, no. We're all just sharing our collective wisdom. What support or resources do you use or recommend for someone trying to break in?
Ooh, I think lately I've been seeing a lot of really cool things like trainee programs for writing or apprenticeships. And I know like there are also writing fellowships, like the Nick Writing Fellowship, or I think like Cape has one. And I think those can definitely help you if you submit and you try and like you get into one, that will definitely like lead you into becoming a writer. But I think those are also really, really competitive. And I've met some people who have gotten them. I think more writers that I know though have gotten their foot in the door sort of doing stuff like being a script coordinator or being like a writer's assistant, which I think that's the right job title. That is again more of like a live action thing from what I know, because in animation we only have script coordinators, at least the studios that I've been at. But I think in live action there's like two roles. So the job of script coordinator in animation is split into two different jobs in live action. I think it's script coordinator, writer's assistant. But a lot of people I know have kind of found their way through that. And I guess if you can, like getting internships to getting, because like I started out again as like an office manager and then a PA, and that was like through internships. And like, I think getting to know people, not being afraid to tell them what your goals are and sharing like who you are. And again, like for stuff like creative work, people really nowadays want to know like what your unique voice is, what your unique story is. And like I think for people to really get a sense of that is like you have to be again like open, and you have to be open to sharing that. I think it can be hard because like at least for me, I'm one of those people, I'm pretty bad at social media because I'm always like, don't look at me. I don't want you to see what I'm doing. Don't look at. But I think again, like I feel like I just regurgitate advice that other more experienced people have given me, but people know when you're being honest and open, and I think that helps when you're forming genuine connections with people. And I think genuine connections really can carry you pretty far in our industry. And I think sometimes people are like, I don't want to do a thing that isn't directly the thing that I want to do. But like again, like I mean, I was in production for a while and I thought that was actually what I wanted to do for a really long time. I thought I wanted to be a line producer, but and then likewise, I've known people who have been in production a while, but they're not sure that's really what they want to do. And then while they're there, they kind of figure out what they want to do and they like switch tracks. Or like I've known people who have done creative work and then hopped back to production. Like I think don't lock yourself into something. Just like be open to getting your foot in the door because that's oftentimes the hardest step. So like the people that you meet or if someone offers you an opportunity or the opportunity to send your resume in for something, like don't be like, this isn't really what I want. If you're getting started and you're trying to break in, like jam your foot in the door because, and some studios again are better than this at other studios of like having like the leniency to let you move around if different tracks. But I think if you get in your foot in the door, you start meeting people, you start telling them your story, you start telling them what you're passionate about, like you will find your way to what you want to do, and I think not that you'll just like fall there. You definitely have to try really hard too. So don't just be like, if I tell enough people I want to be an editor, I'll become an editor. You probably will have to put together an editing reel and stuff. Like you'll have to try hard. But I think, at least for me, people have always been super, super vital in my career. And I think if you get your foot in the door, you have access to people and you have access to making those genuine connections. And that will really help you find your way to like, if you want to write. If you want to draw, draw. And especially once COVID is over. It's hard right now because like I feel like if you start a job, you're really only talking to your department. It's video calls. You don't really run into anyone in the hallways and stuff. But once we're back in the studio, like, I remember back when I was an intern at Nick, I would, like, get candy from the candy jars, and someone would be grabbing candy next to me, and I would, like, turn to them and be like, hello, I'm Liz. What do you do? So, like, and people are really nice and receptive in the studios, and, like, of course, like, never have a sense of entitlement. No one owes you anything. No one owes you any of their time, but, like, there's so many nice people in this world, and if you are a gremlin of an intern like me and you're like, tell me your story, I want to hear what you do, like they will talk to you and they'll listen to you. And I think if you also perpetuate that attitude and pay that forward and like treat people well around you, like more and more people will become accessible to you. It's kind of like an RPG game, I guess, it's like you're unlocking bonuses and stat, I'm going off on a weird tangent, but like
you gotta get those hard events.
Yeah, social links. But not that we should all social link for stat bonuses, but it's just everything. What does animation? I feel like everything nowadays teaches you the power of friendship, but it's really true. Mm-hmm. But you're entitled to nothing. Be grateful for everything. Well, okay, that was wrong though. I feel like you are entitled to like healthy and good working conditions and being respected as a human being and stuff. I meant more like other random things you're not entitled to, but
it's a very good point. Yeah, you're 100%
sorry.
right.
I misspoke there. You're definitely entitled to like proper treatment as a person. So don't take crap from people.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, I have guests fill out an outline or a form that I create an outline for the podcast. And Liz, you mentioned you wanted to speak about friends and your cat. Obviously, these are two parts of your life that are very important to you. How does friendship and pet love play into your role or your career as a whole?
Oh, okay. Yes. So I know I already talked a lot about my cat, but I feel like friends and my cat and like even my family, like that all just ties into like the big thing of like having a good support network or like just good support in life. I think working in entertainment and a lot of other fields, but like I work in entertainment, so what can I say about other fields? Not really a lot, but working in entertainment can be super stressful for like a ton of different reasons. And I think it's so much easier to be on this kind of career path where stuff can be really up in the air and you can actually exert control over like a ton of things. Like I think it is really helpful when you have people to support you through your hard times. And I think also just to like remind you that career is not everything. It's like just one aspect of your life. I think it's really easy to fall into feeling like your self-worth is like tied to your job or like how your job is going and things like that. But that is not true. And in my personal opinion, like having good social relationships and stuff is just as important or like more important than having a good career because, you know, at the end of the day, like if your company fires you, man, you can't really do anything. But like it's all up to your company or something, you know? But like if you have good friends, like they're gonna be there for you. And like if you do make authentically good friends, like they're not gonna fire you for stuff. Like they're just gonna be your friends for the rest of your life. And I think it just helps me refocus on like what is the bigger picture of life. Having my cat or like having my friends or like talking to my parents on the phone and stuff when I get really zoned in on like, man, this day at work, I think I said something stupid and I'm spiraling and like really questioning like, am I good at what I do? And that's all I can think of. It helps me refocus on the fact that like that was just one day at work. I have a whole life outside of work. And tomorrow is a new day at work. I can move on and move forward. And they remind me of these things too. And it's just so important to build a network of people who really care about you and who you really, really care about. And on a rainy day, it helps so much. And it really helps keep you grounded, I think. So that's my solid recommendation to everyone.
Aw, that's so precious. And Leon is a very good boy, so.
Oh yeah, he's like the best stress ball. Like, I mean, I'm sure you know this too, KB, working in entertainment. Oh my gosh, sometimes it's just so stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta have the stress balls, you know? And that's my cat, or just squish my cat. Not painfully or anything. Very respectfully
Of
squish
course.
him.
Respectful
Yes.
squish.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have Zero, who's also a very good boy, so.
Oh my gosh, Zero is beautiful. I follow Zero on Instagram.
Oh my goodness. Zero on Instagram, _period Zero the kitty.
Oh my gosh. I tell everyone they should definitely follow Zero on Instagram. But actually, it's such a stress reliever to look at people's pets and stuff, and Zero is a handsome boy.
Oh, thank you. He's ready for any fancy occasion.
Tuxedo style.
Mm-hmm. Liz,
Mm-hmm.
what was your upbringing like?
I feel like I had a nice upbringing and that like my parents both immigrated from South Korea. I have an older sister. And I think in some ways I have this weird knee-jerk reaction sometimes to like them telling me what to do and stuff now that I'm an adult because I'm like, I'm not a child anymore. But they used to be pretty traditional, so I think that's where that comes from, is like I think they were pretty strict and firm on a lot of stuff. So, and I was more the type of kid that like, I grew up in America listening to NSYNC and watching anime. So some of the stuff that they felt like was, really important or really key to like a successful life in America, like it didn't necessarily click with my worldview. And I think that would lead to some chafing and stuff. And I think even now, every now and then, something will, like I said, like bump a little. But I think over time, I've like grown to realize, I am in a different industry from them. I'm on a different career path. I have like a different lifestyle. And like likewise, they have different lifestyles and stuff. And I really respect that they even like want to share advice with me. And like a lot of the times it's not even viable. I'm like, you're telling me to do this thing that honestly, in the context of animation, makes absolutely no sense, but I'm gonna just smile and nod because, or at least I try to. But again, sometimes that like youthful knee-jerk reaction comes out where I'm like, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. But I think my parents and my sister, like, I have always felt super, super loved, even though I have sometimes been at odds with them in that sense. And I think that is like the most important connection I can have with them. I think that makes up for all the disconnects we have with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, when I was little or like younger, those disconnects felt so abrasive to me and it felt so constricting. And I just felt really suffocated sometimes. I felt like they were a little overbearing every now and then and stuff. But like in hindsight now, getting older, like I really appreciate all of that, I think. I think, maybe I didn't like that they told me certain things, or maybe I didn't like that, like, my dad sometimes was for the 30th time, are you sure you want to do art? But, like, now that I'm older, I see, like, that all came from, like, in their eyes, a point of valid concern and valid love. So I think I really appreciate that. And I think it is kind of nice being one of the first people in my family to do like a more creative career path, because I feel like I have a lot of freedom and flexibility to find my own way. Like, again, I appreciate their advice, but it's kind of nice to have something that even they're not sure what kind of advice to give me. And then that makes it easier for me to reach out when I want advice on specific things, as opposed to like constantly being given advice on stuff that they kind of think they know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, oh no, am I turning this into a therapy session? I really had a good upbringing. I think I appreciate it a lot. And I think, like a lot of people's upbringings, there was like tension. And I think that really shaped me as a person and stuff. But I think it also helped bring me to where I am. I think also my mom has a ton of siblings. I have like a lot of family. And like, I think for a lot of immigrant families, there's like that struggle of integrating into a different culture while retaining your culture, or like the struggles that you go through, like, you know, when you're the first Asian person in like a school or something. And I think it's been something that I grew up kind of watching them experience. And like, I am again really grateful for my family. I feel like they really blazed a path where I can have the comfort of pursuing art. I think back in the day, like especially when they first moved here, the priority, of course, is like, well, we need to survive. And because they hit a point where they have this stride where like they could survive, I could afford to go to art school. I mean, with student loans, but you know, it's life. It's okay. I don't mind. Maybe Biden will come through on some loan forgiveness, but
please.
Right? But I think all of that is really nice because it gives me basis for like writing things. It's like I grew up watching a lot of different people experiencing and struggling with a lot of different things, and then like even those struggles like falling on me in some ways, in the sense that like I would struggle with my parents, any cultural mindset differences they had with me and stuff, and that's all. I think again, like not just for writing but for a lot of creative work, it's like people watching and like learning from other people, just seeing how they respond to different things or react, or like what did they hold for 20 years that they never forgot, or like those kinds of things are so key to creating things that are relatable or authentic. And so I think my upbringing gave me a lot of access to be able to like experience those things or watch other people experience those things. I sound like a creepy voyeur. But like it's true. You have to like watch. I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm not getting creep vibes from this. It's like, you know how people. You learn from life.
Yeah, you learn from life. I feel like it sounds like my parents would like be walking and I would just be hiding behind a tree watching them. Like that is like a little bit true. There's like some validity to that.
That you would hide behind trees.
Yes, I would hide behind trees and watch my parents. No, but not like weird. But I think it's more just like pay attention to like life and the things around you. And like I'm lucky enough that the life and the things around me taught me a lot, and like I learned a lot through those things. And I think it's impossible for any one person to experience every kind of experience or live every kind of life. Mm-hmm. Like I in no way can grow up as like, I don't know, someone in the UK in the 1940s, because I just wasn't born in that time or living that life. But I think at least like for the people around us that we can learn from, we can like learn different experiences or like talk to them about their experiences and like try to, I don't know, absorb as much of that as we can. So something like that. I feel like I derailed this question a lot, but my upbringing was basically the type of upbringing where I was like a sponge and I tried to absorb many things. Something like that.
Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry, Kaybe. You know, I'm just the type to ramble a lot.
You're fine. Outside of work, what kind of hobbies, side hustles, or interests do you engage in?
Oh man, I feel like so many people I know are so good at like side hustling, and I want to be better at that. I'll figure something out eventually. I feel like in general hobby stuff, I like, like cooking, watching shows, playing video games. I am like recently trying to doodle more now that I have free time coming up. Because I did go to art school, even though I was like, what if I just did the story part and never had to draw again? Lol. But I do to a certain degree enjoy drawing, so I want to get back to that a little bit. But I like playing with my cat, hanging out with my friends when there's not like a freaking global pandemic. I feel like lately I wish I was like more proactive about participating in things to like help foster young talent and stuff. I feel like though I'm doing the thing that I said not to do, where you like hesitate because you feel like something's not ready or you're not ready or something. I feel like I am not yet qualified enough to like do something like that. But like that's not true. There's like a lot of things I could probably get on top of and stuff. So I need to just get over my imposter syndrome and be like, does anybody want to know about production? So I'll work on that kind of stuff, hopefully in the future. Now, starting now is what I'll tell
Right
myself.
now. Today's the
Right
day.
now. Yeah.
What do you feel are the next steps in your journey?
Well, I literally just rolled off of my first staff writing job this past week. So I think I'm gonna focus on like trying to get staffed again. The voice in the back of my head that is the voice of other people who have told me to be more confident says to say that more as like, I'm gonna focus on my next staffing job, which is 9,000% gonna happen. And heck yeah. But I think, eventually it'd be really cool if I could move into being an EP or something, or like a showrunner. That'd be cool, like a writer EP. And extra, extra, super, super duper amazing if in the next 80 years I could be that on an original show that I pitch or something. I have time. I think human life expectancy, I don't know, is it going up or down? I hope it's going up.
Um,
Never mind. Yeah. I mean, overall, I think in a more romantic way. Because, like, what creative people aren't romantic, right? Like, we're all kind of romanticists at heart because we're like, I can make a living off of art and spoken word. I think I just like to be able to tell stories that, resonate with other people and that resonate with me. I think outside of career ladder goals, probably like, the never-ending struggle of continuing to build self-consciousness. I mean, self-confidence, not self-consciousness. That's what I'm trying to get rid of, but it's so deeply ingrained that even my brain was like, you're just gonna have more of it. No, I'm gonna build self-confidence.
There you go.
And I think, really grow into being the best writer I can be. You betcha, Kaybe.
You bet. Oh, yeah.
You betcha.
Yeah.
I can do it.
You can do it.
Oh, thank you. You can do it too. We both can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you believe in me and I'll believe in you.
All right, that's
And then
good.
you also believe in yourself.
Okay, but you then also have to believe in yourself.
Maybe next Tuesday. No, yes, I'll do that too. I will also believe in myself. It'll be great.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Okay, now is the time for rapid questions, where I'll ask you a series of this or that, or yes or no, or whatever else kind of questions, and you answer as quickly as possible. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
If you were a potato, what way would you want to be cooked?
I feel like I would just want to be a whole baked potato because it involves less cutting, I think.
Okay.
I think it would be painful to be like cubed or mashed. I feel like at least a baked potato is just one incision, which like women have to do a lot sometimes anyways for like C-sections. So like,
I'm not surprised that you were so quickly able to answer that question.
If only I could have answered your other questions quickly. It's okay, you can cut it all in post.
Have you ever been mistaken for someone famous?
No, not at all.
If you were, who would it be?
Oh, I think, man, that's a good question. If I could, is this like ideally who I'd be mistaken for? I feel like
Ideally.
I could be mistaken for, I, I, I really, I really like Pro ZD on YouTube. Does does
Sure.
that count?
Sure, why not? I don't know who that
Funny?
is, but
No.
I'll agree with it.
No, I don't know.
I'll say Ariana Grande.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Why not? I'll take it. High ponytails?
Yeah. That's
I'll
you
do
all
it.
day.
That's right.
Slick that back.
Insert hand hair motion that I realize no one will see, but it doesn't make a sound. But I did it.
It's true. I saw. Can
Thank you.
confirm. What's the strangest gift you've ever received?
I don't like a hairball. I feel like I don't get too many strange gifts, but I'm one of those people who always like prefaces gifts with like, please give me something practical. I did recently get a pack of children's socks with cats' faces on them, but my feet aren't too big, so they fit, so I'll take it. But they are, upon not being worn, they are visibly smaller than all my adult size socks.
Well, they have cats on them.
Yeah, and then once you put them on, they're stretchy enough. They fit on my feet. It's not a big deal. They have cats on them.
Okay, perfect. That sounds
Yeah.
ideal, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What song describes your life right now?
Uh, Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. You know the one it's like, Life is a highway. Oh.
Hey, I didn't pay for the rights of that song. Don't get me in trouble.
Oops. Oh, wait. Ooh. It's okay. I was so out of tune, no one will know.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
never know. Yeah.
Cake or pie?
Cake. I like cake a lot. I think the moistness of a cake. Like, I feel like also cake is one of the only foods, or like one of the only contexts where you can use the word moist and it's like okay, because I know people usually don't like hearing the word moist, but like when it's a cake, like literally cake boxes will say moist cake, you know?
Yeah.
But you can't say moist pie. I feel like cakes are like.
You can't say that. No, I never even thought.
Wait,
of
is
that.
that like a you?
No,
Yeah,
I
like,
mean that could possibly be taken out of context for something dirty, potentially.
oh well, that wasn't my intent, but like you know what I mean because in a way, pies like a cherry pie, super moist on the inside, like very liquidy.
Yeah.
In a way, more so than cake because it straight up has raw liquid, but. It isn't right to use that adjective.
That's
you
true.
can only really use it for cake. So isn't cake the superior carb form? Probably.
Probably. It's also the
Yeah.
way that you also put so much emphasis on the M in moist. You're like, moist.
Oh, yeah. I think I really like the O to come out strong, you know? So.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. I don't get to use the word often. I have to really.
Yeah, when you get the opportunity.
Pop it out, you know?
Are you a listener or a talker?
I am a talker who tries to be a listener. I feel like if someone comes to me and they're like, I have a deep life crisis, I will shut up and listen. But also, if I'm just like chilling with friends or like someone's asking me a question, then I will very easily start to ramble. I think it's because I think too much. I'm an overthinker. I think constantly. Sometimes at night I can't sleep because I'm just thinking. So when someone asks me to open my mouth, everything I've been overthinking on just like it like vomits out, you know? It's like a blah, 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 blah.
What's your favorite type of flavor? Sweet, salty, savory, bitter, or sour?
And I say salty sweet because I'm such a sucker for the combination of salty and sweet. Like, you know, like a chocolate covered pretzel or like a pie and you put a little bit of flaky salt on top. Or, you know, like a tempura shrimp with caramel. No, not that last one. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't eat that. But I was trying to think of more examples to like prove that I'm a salty sweet person.
Salted caramel.
Yes, salted caramel, very good. Salty sweet, so good. Or like a salty food with a subtle hint of sweetness. Like, is teriyaki sauce not a little bit salty sweet because it has sweetness and saltiness?
Yeah, you're very right.
Yeah.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Now I kind of want to ask you about anime, so I'm going to close this for the time being.
Oh, yeah.
Ranma half or Inuyasha?
Oh, man, that's hard. But I like Inuyasha better. I might be because I read/watched it first. But I like also, like, the love triangles and stuff. I like Inuyasha. And they yell things a lot. And for a young child, I feel like that. Like, they yell the same words a lot. Like, she's always like, sit! And then she's always like, Inuyasha! And then he's like, Kagome! So then it's like, I feel like for a young child, that was very attention-grabbing. And I was like, oh, I know what they're going to say next.
Yeah, that's true. They would scream their names a lot.
Yes, but Ranma's also gold. Rumiko Takahashi is a queen.
Mm-hmm.
I love her.
I agree
All
with
her
that.
work, chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Powerhouse of a lady.
Sailor Moon or Cardcaptor Sakura?
Oh, that's really, really hard because I really liked both when I was growing up. I feel like if you asked me when I was little, I would say Sailor Moon, but I feel like if you're asking me now, Cardcaptor Sakura.
Wow.
Yeah, which is probably controversial, but hey, 10-year-old me, totally down for Sailor Moon of the two. I think I really like them both, but I think Cardcaptor Sakura, like, it's just so cute now when I look back on it, and like I feel like too with the nostalgia of being older now, I'm like, oh, like they're young and they actually look young, and like that's a time of my life that was like so great, and like I was their age when I watched it, and like, Sailor Moon, it's a little hard because I never felt like I was their age, because when I was their age, they looked way taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
So like from a nostalgia lens, it makes me more nostalgic to watch Cardcaptor Sakura. But I do love Sailor Moon a lot.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave you a tough question. Thank you.
I know.
I don't think I can answer it.
Wait, no, tell me. Now you have to tell me which one.
I don't know.
There was just something so pure, too, about, like, Sakura and Shoran. Like, they're so, like, wholesome and pure. Like, sometimes with Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask, I'm like, I don't know, you're kind of a mess.
Yeah, it feels toxic sometimes with them.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know about you two. But then, like, by the end, I'm like, that's chill. But, like, I feel like with Sakura and Shoran, I'm like, they're so wholesome and good.
Did you ever read Tsubasa?
I read part of Tsubasa, but even in that, they're so like, it's like so wholesome.
It really is.
Like they just love one another a lot, and like, he does that stupid thing boys do when they're little and they have a crush, and they're like,
kind of,
I'm gonna be mean to this girl, and it's like, now as an adult, I'm like, but why?
Yeah, what's the point of that? Why would I don't know. But it's really cute. It's really precious.
It's so precious.
And I like
if I ever have sons, I'm gonna be like, if you have a crush on a girl and you're mean to her, then you don't get any moist cake. You get only dry cake.
You get that old dry cake that's been on the counter.
Yeah. For the rest of your birthdays now.
Thank you so much, Liz, for speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any social media you would like to share with us?
Yes. My Instagram is mainly just Leon, but I have Twitter and Instagram, and they're both at Ton of Chun, so TONOFCHUN. But my Twitter has literally 0 tweets, but I'm gonna start using it. Probably also for pictures of Leon, so but it's fine. Everything is just my cat. I like artist Instagrams because you guys like post art, but I feel like if I write a paragraph and then I take a picture of it and post it on Instagram, it'll be like, why'd you take a picture of a random paragraph of a 32-page script? What is context? What does it mean?
That might be a new movement. You don't know.
That's true. Just like a random line of dialogue. It's like, so-and-so walks into the room, interior, something, I don't know.
I like it. I don't know. I think that could be beginning of something.
Oh, thank you, Kaybe. I love your art.
Oh, thank you so much.
I also check out on Instagram. I am a big fan of yours.
Oh,
so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Oh my God. But you know who we really should be thanking? The listener.
Oh, thank you for listening.
Thank you for
If you're
listening.
still here listening to me, I'm like, you're probably here because Kaybe sounds great. And you're
Oh.
sticking around. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness. Thank you again, listener, for tuning in. Please follow Creating in Color on Instagram and Twitter, and feel free to submit any questions for upcoming guests through our social media or our email, creatingincolorcast@gmail.com. If you're interested in following me, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.tv at Maybe It's KB. Thanks to Namikaze for creating the end theme and beginning theme. It's really just a theme song. You can find more of his music on his SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Namikaze. That's Namikaze. Thanks to everyone for sharing Creating in Color with your friends, family, and coworkers. We really appreciate any word of mouth or even helping to push our hashtag at social media. Hashtag Creating in Color Cast. If you're interested in supporting us, you can find us on Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/creating in color. Before we wrap up, do you have any departing words of wisdom for everyone listening?
Yes, my departing words of wisdom are to follow Kaybe on all the socials she just listed, and also to support on Ko-fi. And also, just good luck out there. Work hard. Be nice to other people, and believe in yourself, or find someone else who believes in you. It's like Gurren Lagann. Just until you can believe in yourself. No, just hit a point where you can believe in yourself. I think that's a good idea. Probably. It's hard if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's well said. Thank you so much. This has been Creating in Color. Keep striving, keep trying, keep creating. Bye.